I was both fascinated and intrigued to see this article online yesterday.
Because sometimes you just can't believe the extent they'll go to with misinformation.
Hi, I'm Rosco from AmazingEV, and of course I'm talking about this article. This headline popped up on my social feed yesterday. EV time bomb set to smash Oz. Wow, where did all this come from?
Surely we've had enough of all these lies.
We totally disagree with it. Today we're going to go back and find the source of this document. How did this story even come up in the first place? Let's dig a bit deeper. The article behind the headline was this. It was written by Scott Pape, the Barefoot Investor, who wrote an article on his blog where most of the conclusions of most of these misstatements came from. We don't know how this came about. We don't know what prompted it. Maybe it was something to do with Elon Musk and SpaceX listing last week. Maybe it was something to do with Tesla. Maybe it was something to do with the Albanese government. But he got a bee in his bonnet last week and decided that the cars that qualified as EVs for the FBT exemption, the fringe benefit tax exemption, were a major weight on Australian taxpayers. Somehow we were paying because supposedly it had cost the taxpayer, the Australian taxpayer, and us way more than it should have. This whole scheme was wildly successful. And he went on to conclude in his article that while you might save $5,000 through this scheme, at the end of the day, the government were duping you with secret terms and conditions that suggested your EV be only worth half what you pay for it at the end of the lease. News picked up on the simple byline and turned it into this headline.
Experts, including the Barefoot Investor, are predicting that used EV prices are set to implode. But they didn't ask Rosco from AmazingEV.
Barefoot was quoted in the article as saying, all those amazing secret deals are leased and most will be dumped on the market in 3 to 5 years. Barefoot went on to say in the article, predicted bargains for second-hand buyers due to the influx of supply. Rob Lee from car comparison website thebeep.com.au was another expert they consulted with, and he said more sensibly the wave of second-hand stock would combine with other factors driving prices down, such as rapid technological advancements, new Chinese models, and customer concerns over range and battery health. Then behind that article was that fantastic video with the other experts. Scott Pape, we know the article was drawn from, Brendan Green from Pickles, who I know and have also consulted with, and our good friend Jerry Cam from Jerry Sells. Let's take a look at that video and have a closer look at what they said.
Because some of what they said is just completely wrong.
Second-hand EVs are already cheap, but experts are predicting screaming.
Okay, hold up there, Christian. Hold up there. They're not cheap. They've just undergone one of the biggest spikes in car history, in EV history. Thanks to the war and the petrol price spike, EV prices have jumped over 25% in March. Sure, they're normalizing again, but they had an incredible jump. So there's all sorts of factors that come into play here in terms of EV prices.
But experts are predicting screaming bargains.
Experts are predicting screaming bargains.
The only ones screaming are EV owners and EV buyers and anyone involved with the used EV market.
The electric car discount was introduced by the Albanese government in 2022. It exempts some EVs from fringe benefits tax when acquired through a novated lease.
That's right. Anything that doesn't qualify for the luxury car tax that was purchased after July 1, 2022, new or used EV. So it's not and doesn't apply to the luxury car, anything that qualifies as under the luxury car tax as well.
That typically lasts between 3 to 5 years. Put simply, it allows employees to pay for the car and its running costs directly from their pre-tax salary, saving thousands of dollars in income and vehicle taxes each year. The discount has proven wildly popular, with
all true, and it is a fantastic financial mechanism, fantastic policy that the government introduced, the Labor government, to encourage EV ownership. And it has done a wonderful job, as we're about to find out. And as Christian is about to let us know, it has been wound back and it's starting to be wound back because it's been extremely successful.
more than 130,000 EVs acquired under leases with the FBT exemption over the past 3 years. 40% of all EV purchases. It's been so popular, in fact, that
some numbers I've seen suggest it might be even higher, up to 45, 49%. No doubt it has contributed massively with almost, somewhere between 40 and 50% of all new EVs sold in the last year have been under a novated lease. It's when we've seen sales waning last year, under 10% of total new car sales, it's the novated lease structure that it's allowed the market to maintain the strength that it's had. And granted, the percentage of new cars purchased under a novated lease in Australia is around about 10%. So this has been wildly successful, around 40 to 50%. It has been much higher than the normal purchasing arrangements for new cars in Australia.
It's been so popular, in fact, that the government will phase it down from next year after tax revenue losses soared far beyond initial forecasts.
Again, it's always contentious about how this is described. It has been wildly successful. Treasury estimates when this scheme came in suggested the government might miss out on 100 million or so of income of fringe benefit tax from cars that were bought under novated leases or salary sacrifice that were EVs. This has turned out to be well over $1 billion. Given that the rate of novated leases on new cars is only around 10%, it's arguable whether that money would have been received anyway. Clearly, the scheme has been wildly successful at promoting new EV purchasing, but would those people have actually bought those cars had they not qualified for the FBT exemption? And if so, would the government have received that money anyway? So have they not received it? Have they lost it? Would those transactions have even taken place?
Discount has already reshaped Australia's car market, and it might make EVs cheaper than anyone expected.
That is totally debatable and total speculation. Just because the FBT exemption was successful and more EVs than expected were sold, there's the number of EVs that were sold were less than what they expected. The number of EVs coming onto the market were well less than 10% up until 6 months ago. The fact that we now are going to have cars coming off lease after 2 or 3 years is a normal part of business, a normal part of car ownership. No one expected people to own EVs for longer than any other car. So that's a normal part of the process. If anything, we're looking forward to more used EVs coming onto the market because as we saw in March, with so few for sale and such big demand, there was literally what was for sale got swept up so quickly, the market was so thin that suddenly there was nothing for sale. We can't wait till there's more used EVs on the market.
Barefoot Investor Scott Pape warned this week that drivers who took advantage of the discount would end up with a car worth half what you paid for it at the end of the lease. Most cars would be dumped on the market in
Dumped?
Dumping them? That is totally ridiculous.
This is just total rubbish. Nothing's being dumped on the market. As we'll find out a bit later on, they come on in a regulated way. If there was 130,000 cars bought under the FBT exemption through novated leases, that's been over almost 3 years now. They're going to be coming back onto the market at around about 3,000, 3,500 to 4,000 per month, up and down. The total number of cars for sale, EVs, pure EVs we're talking here, at the moment is around about 7,000, 7,500 between the various marketplaces, including AmazingEV, our own marketplace. If we add 3.5 more, that's a 50% increase. But as for dumping them,
3 to 5 years, Barefoot argued, with second-hand buyers getting a bargain due to the influx of supply. Not everyone agreed with Mr.
finally, some sensibility. Not everyone agreed with Mr. Pape, the Barefoot. Let's have a look at the voice of reason.
Pape's view, though. Brendan Green from Pickles said second-hand EV prices had actually surged this year as Aussies were driven into the market by higher petrol prices.
The fuel crisis caused EV prices to spike. For instance, we sold the largest amount of EVs we've ever sold in the month of March 26. We saw EV searches on our website increase 160% from what they were the month prior. We saw Model 3s jump in price by $12,000 from what they would make in 1 weekend to the next. We had 100% clearance rates. So the used EV.
Finally, we have some hard and fast data here, not just some opinions.
Brendan's come in with some hard stats of what's going on actually in the auction markets, particularly over the last 3 months or so, when we had a really high demand. We saw it at AmazingEV. We ran out of stock. There was virtually nothing available. Clearance rates were 100%.
Market has certainly grown significantly through the fuel crisis.
Mr. Green expected used EVs to come onto the market in a staggered fashion, and he didn't foresee.
Exactly. They're not going to be dumped.
They went on in a staggered fashion. They'll come off in a staggered fashion.
see a mountain of cars coming up for sale all at once. On the flip side, Jerry Cam did used EVs to come onto the market in a staggered fashion, and he didn't foresee a mountain of cars coming up for sale.
No one's foreseeing a mountain of cars. Bear in mind that the used car market in Australia is around about 2,100,000, 2,200,000 cars per year. So far, the used EV market is around about 35,000 cars per year, less than 1.5%. Do the maths, roughly. Take a look at some data from AutoGrab, who collect all the data on used EVs and used cars right across the market. They've made a business out of it, and you'll find out exactly what I'm talking about. The fact that there's another 2,000 or 3,000 or 4,000 cars coming onto the used EV market is exactly the growth that we're looking for to build and grow this market and to provide reasonable, cost-effective, affordable cars on the used market for every EV buyer. Go on, please,
All at
Christian.
once. On the flip side, Jerry Cam, who owns Bayside Brothers.
The voice of reason. Let's see what Jerry's got to say. Now, I haven't met Jerry. I don't know him personally. I find his videos highly entertaining, and I love watching them. I think it should be called Jerry Buys instead of Jerry Sells. I've never seen him sell a car. I've seen him try and buy plenty. Highly entertaining. But as an expert from the second-hand EV market, most dealers have shied away from EVs in the last 12 months. Plenty are coming back and plenty have had good experiences, but many are still staying out of it. Let's see what Jerry's got to say.
Motors in Victoria said he did expect EV prices to drop in the coming years.
I do think Australian market at this stage still not very convenient for you to charge the EV if you want to do.
So there's a charging problem. Well, there's a charging problem Australia-wide, is there? Well, we're on track for about 6,000 public charging stations around Australia in the next 12 months. Tesla is still doing the heavy lifting. Anyone who knows anything about charging, particularly cross-country and cross-country trips, there's plenty of charging stations.
Longer distance. Let's say, like me, I like road trip. I often go to Sydney, Adelaide. If I'm having an EV, probably I will a little bit stressed.
I doubt Jerry's going to get stressed driving in an EV from Melbourne to Sydney.
The people who trade in or sell their petrol car or diesel car back in March and April, maybe even after a year or two, I think they will sell their EV because at this stage, Australian market is still not very, very suitable for EV.
The Australian market's not suitable for EVs. We've still got a long, long way to go. I agree with them partially that a lot of people might have jumped into an EV in March, April this year. Maybe they overreacted, maybe they weren't ready for it, but maybe that was the catalyst they were looking for, but perhaps they weren't quite ready. Maybe they should have waited a bit longer. Granted, there might be some people who've got some regret later on, but again, I don't think that's going to be widespread. And the new car sales figures have been extraordinary for the last couple of months as well. And used EVs are still growing strongly as well.
It's simple economic question. When supply is more than demand, then the price will drop.
Mr. Cam said he currently has a 2023 Tesla Model 3 for sale for $32,000, which generally sells for more than $70,000 brand new. So,
say that again. Just say that one more time.
Mr. Cam said he currently has a 2023 Tesla Model 3 for sale for $32,000, which generally sells for more than $70,000.
One more time, Jerry. Sorry, just one more time. I want to get that correct first.
Tesla Model 3 for sale for $32,000, which generally sells for more than $70,000.
That's what I thought he said. A 2023 has never been over 70. It's maybe got to 70 close. A Model 3 maybe got to 70 with on-roads, but was never over 70. Performance model for sure, but not a standard. So there's been all sorts of deals, all sorts of bargains. Tesla Model 3s at the moment are around about 55. They've always been competitive. There's no doubt people paid more money up front. The first adopters, the first buyers of Teslas paid a lot more. Lots of people have experienced that same sort of situation.
So it's listed for less than half of its original price, and it's already been on the lot for more than a month.
This is a bit more of an indictment of Jerry's ability to sell this car. The price, this is a bit more of an indictment of Jerry's ability to sell this car, I think. He's not really well known for selling EVs. I had a look on his website, and not one deal was involved buying an EV. I think he's a reluctant seller of EVs, and perhaps from what I've seen, there's plenty of demand for Model 3s, plenty of demand for Model Ys, plenty of demand for all EVs. From what I've seen on our own marketplace and Facebook and other marketplaces, there's plenty of demand for this car.
He added that all cars depreciate in value,
Yes.
and for some Aussie drivers, EVs were still a great fit. So whether you buy
Yes, he's conceded that all cars do depreciate and that for many drivers, EVs are a great fit.
So whether you buy through a novated lease or on the second-hand market, EVs have become much more affordable, and the trend looks set to continue.
Finally, in the last 5 seconds, we've got reality. EVs are becoming more affordable and the trend is set to continue. Whether you buy under a novated lease, new or used, or whether you buy a used EV and get a great deal on something that's almost brand new, you are in a winning position. I'm Rosco, and we look forward to seeing you next time.